Welcome to The Explainer. You know, if your marketing spend sometimes feels a bit like throwing darts in the dark, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're dissecting the exact frameworks that can transform your marketing from a stressful guessing game into a highly predictable driver of absolute financial success. We're going to look at exactly how to project your returns with crystal clarity, way before a single dollar is ever spent. Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We're going to start with a quick intro to marketing ROI, then dive into planning out that online campaign. After that, we'll zoom out to the master marketing plan, and finally, look at how this all plays out in a messy, real-world multi-channel setup. Let's jump right in. To really ground us, here's exactly what our source material lays out for this topic. In this module, participants would learn the budgeting and planning of online campaign with ROI, incorporate ROI into the marketing plan, and look at multi-channel ROI in practice. Basically, we're going to unpack the real, practical application of all of this. No fluff, just the good stuff.
All right, part one, introduction to marketing ROI. Let's establish our baseline here.
So what actually is marketing ROI in this context? It's defined as the practice of budgeting and projecting the return on investment for your marketing activities. But here's the kicker, you have to do it before execution. The whole secret sauce here is predictive modeling. Instead of just launching a campaign, crossing your fingers, and reacting to whatever data rolls in a month later, this framework forces you to be proactive. You're taking historical data, market benchmarks, and your anticipated conversion rates, and you're actually modeling your financial returns before deploying anything. It's a completely proactive methodology.
Okay, moving on to part two, planning the online campaign. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty of digital execution. When you're gearing up to launch a specific online campaign, the chronological sequence you follow is literally mathematically critical. It goes exactly like this. Step 1 is budgeting. Step 2 is planning. And step 3 is projecting ROI. You absolutely cannot project an accurate return without first setting that hard ceiling on your spend and defining the exact tactical parameters of the plan. If you try to calculate your anticipated yield before locking in those constraints, well, your ROI projection is just going to be a volatile, moving target. Not helpful, right? Now, at this initial stage, you need serious precision and a laser-focused digital mindset. When you're isolating a single campaign, you have to completely lock in on the specific unit economics of that one environment. I'm talking about defining your anticipated customer acquisition cost, estimating the immediate lifetime value generated from that specific campaign, and mapping out highly specific conversion rate benchmarks. You got to know your numbers inside and out.
So once you've mastered the single campaign, you've got to think bigger. That brings us to part three, the master marketing plan. This is where we develop that macro-level strategy.
As you can see, there's a huge shift when we move from a single campaign strategy, which is all about those isolated ROI projections we just talked about, to an integrated marketing plan. We are essentially stepping away from siloed metrics and incorporating all those individual projections holistically. You take that isolated specific channel data and you weave it into the massive overarching financial strategy of your entire organization. It's like putting together a giant puzzle.
And this visual really hits the nail on the head. In an integrated plan, your total ROI is truly the sum of its parts. Every single micro-level budget and campaign projection has to lock together mathematically. Think about it. If one specific initiative starts underperforming against its projected yield, your overarching target suddenly shrinks. So this demands a real systems thinking approach. You're constantly looking at the big picture, often dynamically reallocating your resources across different campaigns mid-cycle just to make sure you hit that total target yield.
Which brings us to our final section, part 4, multi-channel in practice. Let's see how this all plays out in the wild.
To put this into practice, consider a hypothetical multi-channel environment. Imagine you're running social media, email campaigns, and search engine ads all at the exact same time. Suddenly, projecting ROI becomes exponentially more complex. It's wild. You now have to account for multi-touch attribution. For instance, what if a social media ad initially introduces a customer to your brand, but a targeted search ad 3 days later is what actually closes the sale? Who gets the credit? You can see how tricky that gets.
Now, what's really interesting here is when we compare projected ROI across these varying channels. Multi-channel management isn't just about throwing out a static number and calling it a day. No way! It is an active, ongoing strategy of capital allocation. If your predictive models show that email is going to yield a vastly higher return than social over a specific quarter, marketers have to use these frameworks to dynamically balance their budgets. You actively shift capital away from the underperforming channels and pour it into scaling the ones showing the absolute strongest yield.
So let me leave you with this question. Are your marketing channels projecting true ROI, or are you kind of just guessing? Because mastering these frameworks, moving all the way from isolated, tactical budgets to a holistic, mathematically rigorous multi-channel model is genuinely the only way to answer that question with absolute financial confidence. Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer today, and happy projecting!